now for the benefit of the rest of the class. Kindly put up your hand if you have a question. I'll address them for you on any of the topics done so far. Please keep all the hands up. I will try to give time based on the queries that we have. I saw Priscilla's hand. If any other person has a hand, kindly put it up. Put your hand up. So I'll take all on all the topics done, or something regarding the delivery of the content, or some, clarity you seek, group work, what have you. I canceled the group work that I proposed earlier because we still have some people not on Sakai. They are feeling unnecessarily stressed. So we won't do it. We will work out your continuous assessment marks the way I have already explained to you, and it's clearly stated on your course outline. 10% assignment. So all the assignment you've done on Sakai is only one of them, which is your best 10 mark over 10 is what will count. So if you already have 10 over 10 for assignment 1, for example, then that is what will be computed for you. Assignment 2's 10% won't count anymore. What it will do for you is it will help you prepare to do well, okay? Then the second 10%, we will take it from what? The continuous in-class assessment that I'm conducting for you, giving us a lot of work as a teaching team, myself and my able 60s. We are working very hard. We are grading them and then putting them together. So the number of them that we've done, suppose we do 5 in all and each one was worth 10 marks in class. We will compute your mark you earn for each one of them. So 8 over 10 backward, 7 over 10, 6, 10 over 10, we put all together over the 50 and work out a 10% of that. So in other words, your second 10% will be computed from all your exercises in class. You can't be missing them left, right, center. It will not augur well for your computation. Okay. Then now the third aspect of our assessment will be the midsem, which now we can speak confidently on that it is on the 21st of August. That is the date that has been given to us for both main and city campuses. And this recording will go to both of you. So listen, you're hearing it from the lecturer. You don't want to hear it from any other place. You are hearing it from the lecturer and the examiner of the course. If you go depending on any somebody who is vying for a position and so is over exuberant, and it's giving information, the person is not your instructor. It's not an assigned TA. You'll be misled, and it cannot be the lecturer's fault. The student number is high and big. So I try to communicate as much as I can. Your IA for both main and city campus for this course, I teach other courses, look at the course we are dealing with, okay, is when? 21st of August. If I get another prompt from the university, otherwise, I will circulate a notice officially on Sakai and copy your class reps platform and copy your teaching assistants platform so you can hear it from them. You have all their contacts there on the course outline so you can verify. Okay, let's work that way. It helps you. You are always at peace. They are not unnecessarily worked up. So I'm saying that it's on the 21st of August, and you will come to main campus. Everybody listen and use the UGCS system. In other words, you use the University of Ghana's computing systems to do an on-site online interim assessment. I'm not talking about final exam. I am referencing what? Interim assessment, which we now have a date for. It's almost nearing your exam time. I wish it wouldn't, but it's space issue, convenience, so that when you go, you get good computers, you work. So the university gave us that date in consultation with UGCS. We'll take it. That means all the topics we will do before the midsem are candidates for the exam, for the midsem. So that's how you prepare. Okay. Then you do 20 MCQs, multiple choice questions, 5 short answer questions, totaling 30. The short answer questions will be what? 2 marks each, okay? So that 2 times 5 will be 10. You add to your 20, it will be 30. To earn you a 30 over 30 in the exam. You will do very fine. I mean, you will do so well. So don't be unnecessarily stressed. And then, what was the other thing? It's for an hour, 1 hour. That's all. Then you are done. If there are batches, then the second batch will go in. Go prepared to do your own work because you will miss the same set of questions. All right. Now I can take. Praise Lord, your hand shot up earlier. If your question is clear, then I can take Joseph now. Joseph, go ahead, please. Thank you very much. Joseph, you are muted, so you may want to unmute. That is if your question is still there. If it's cleared, then we are good to go. Whilst we wait to hear from Joseph, if someone wants to read, you would kindly put up your hand, so I'll call you. We are going to go through the business ethics quickly. Oh, Joseph, was it a question? I don't want to brush you aside. I'm still waiting. Okay, so if it's a question, then you come again later, okay? I'll take it. Let me take Hikma now. Hikma, please go ahead. Afterwards, I'll take Ibn, Mudassir, Ibn, okay? Then Cecilia, in that order. So Hikma, go ahead. Hikma, please, are you there? Okay, let me take Cecilia Atiku.
Madam,
please read. Cecilia, we are recording you, so there is nothing going on our recording. Go ahead and read, please. Can you see the screen?
Yes, madam.
Go ahead and read. Cecilia Atiku.
Moral standards. Absolute or absolute or objectivism or universalism.
I'm sorry, Cecilia, we may have to take someone else. I'm so sorry. So let's take someone else. I think your background is it your background that is noisy like that, Cici?
No, madam.
Okay, then go ahead. Can we all mute? This is not our first time online. Okay, let's have some people. Go ahead, Cecilia.
Consequences or rules.
Good. Then the names there.
Kant, Mill, and then Bentham.
Well done. These are names that we'll see for those topics there. So let's move ahead. We know the question of ethics already. We know that it's trying to find out what is right or wrong, good or bad. It's the philosophical question of right, good, bad, wrong. We already said we are focused on the criteria, so much the specific actions that we call good. We have already gone through it. So we are going to go on this in this slide and engage the question of whether there are absolute values, principles, standards. So let's use the word standards on your screen now. Keep looking, please, if you can. Okay. Whether there are absolute standards of ethics that transcend human cultures, that apply everywhere. Do we have standards of morality that apply anyway? See, I'm using morality and ethics interchangeably, but we already saw that you could establish or strike some difference when we saw Kwame Gyekye last week, God willing. I said God willing. Last week, when we saw Kwame Gyekye, how he distinguishes morality from ethics. So we will be using the terms interchangeably here, and be at peace with yourself. We are just asking, do we have certain principles or standards that are universally applicable? That means that applies everywhere, universalism, and that are true independent of what we think, independent of us, objectivism, okay, that are held in high esteem, regardless, high esteem, absolute. We hold these standards true regardless of what we think. It is true objectively. It applies everywhere, universally applicable. It is held in high esteem. And these principles we are asking about, the standard we are asking about, are they true or do they apply regardless of the color, the race, the sex, the nationality, orientation, religion, culture? Can we have such principles that do not care the local coloration? They will hold true regardless. This is a very fundamental question of ethics when it comes to whether or not they are absolute or relative. Now, this question we asked about whether there can be such transcultural, transreligion values, principles, standards. When you ask, we get some kinds of responses. One from those that we call absolutists or objectivists or universalists. What do they say? They say, yes, there can be such. There can be such moral values or ethical principles or standards that transcend, hold on, cultures. Kwame Gyekye is one of them. He argues from a universalist approach on the standards of ethics or standards of morality. He says, yes, there can be. So in his Beyond Cultures, which you can look for later as you advance, I have one in my office. If someone wants to have a glimpse of it, you can pass by my office. I'll show you. It's an ash. The original is ash in color. What does he say in that text? He, like others that are also universalists, whether Western or African thinkers, they simply argue that, and Kwame Gyekye can be our focus point, so we know who to put that view to. He says, insofar as, and so you can be making your point if you want to, insofar as there is an existing and functioning society, take note of the two words. There is an existing and a functioning human society anywhere. We don't care which culture, which religion they practice, whatever they hold dear, which is different from ours. His point of universalism is this, that insofar as, insofar as, you see that, so far as there is any society which is still existing and still functioning, not that it is existing, but it doesn't function, there's nobody there, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, then something like that, no. But so far as there is an existing and functioning human society anywhere, that society would necessarily have to value, cherish what? Certain fundamental human values. If they don't, the society wouldn't even exist. In other words, he's making a point that insofar as there is any human society at all anyway, the society in Hong Kong there, then they would also subscribe to such values. So the values will apply. In fact, it already applies. If not, the society wouldn't even be existing. Example of such values, which he calls human values, they are not cultural, they are not colored, they are not religious. They are just what holds humanity, human society together, whichever society it is, whether Asante or Ghanaian or Afghanistan, Zaire or Iceland, won't matter. Insofar as the society continues to exist, this is a very potent argument. So you need to listen. There is the logic of it. If the society continues to exist, then they would already have been subscribing to a certain respect for some universally applicable values, what he calls human values, such as the value for human life and its well-being. No society can say, as for us, we endorse indiscriminate killing. A society that says we love to kill ourselves. That is what we are aspiring at, or we want to become. We want to become a society that endorses killing. When I see you, I kill you. When you also see me, you kill me. So we are different from you. Let us be the way we are. He says that society wouldn't even continue existing or functioning. Everybody will kill everybody because that's what they value. He says then there wouldn't have been that society at all. So it can't be true that there is any society anywhere that values indiscriminate killing. I kill without thinking about it. Not killing in self-defense, no. Not killing because maybe the mother will be implicated. So the baby is, what's the expression? The baby can trouble the mother. So we endorse that abortion for that period. That's it's discriminate. You are discriminating in when you can kill and when you cannot kill, you see? But his argument is we cannot have a society that kills indiscriminately. Anybody we see are killing ourselves. And that is what we cherish, we value. Say it can't happen. It can't be a standard in any society. So that becomes one example of what? A universal, remember the question we asked, objective and absolute standard of measurement by which every different society will now work towards. Okay, so it will become an example, an instance of what? A standard, a principle that judges our actions. You see that? And that principle is not specific to, you see how I'm taking my time to explain, so that when we start building the others, it just flows. That society cannot decide otherwise, because this one is universally applicable. It's not locally colored. It's not specific to a culture. So you say that as for this, me, my culture, we kill people. We eat human flesh. So let us be. Let us do our thing. You can't come and judge us. I'm going to relativism shortly to show you. The Universalist argues that there can be such values. And I said one of them is what? Respect for human life and its well-being, its welfare. So anything that any specific society says they are pursuing in terms of their culture, their way of life, must ultimately lead towards what? Engendering human well-being, welfare. The other one you can add, then the rest you read and find out if you can get more transcultural values. That's why his book is called Beyond Cultures. This one goes beyond specific cultures. So I can be in Ghana and I can still use the standard to measure something that is going on in, say, Afghanistan or Russia or Ukraine or America, because the standard is higher than, oh, this is how we do things in Rome. So if you come to Rome, you do what the Romans do. We'll get there in a minute. There's a place for that. But the universalists, the absolutists, the objectivists, these are the same persons, the same view given different interpretations. So it refers to the same thing. When I'm talking about the fact that it applies everywhere, I say it's universally applicable. So I call it universalism. When I talk about the fact that it is true, these values are true, independent of us. They don't depend on the subject. Then I say it's objective. So I describe it as what? Objectivism. Then when I'm highlighting the fact that it stands out higher than all other standards, the principles, values that we hold on to, the night, I'm referencing its absoluteness, okay? So it's the same view, but for different reasons. I'm a mother, I'm a lecturer, I'm a sister. So the view is one, but giving different labels for different reasons. I'll ask you questions. Why it is called universalism. You should be able to explain that. The view which says what there are transcultural values, there are standards that go beyond cultures. It's called universalism because the view claims that such values, such standards, apply everywhere. Look on your screen, are universally applicable. Okay. When do we say it's objective or objectivism? Oh, we describe it as an objectivist view because the suggestion is that those principles are true, independent of the subject in question. So it's not because it is what's the Ukraine's president, Zelensky, so that one is wrong. But when it is Putin, then it's right. Or because it is Biden, it's correct. When it's Nanado, it's wrong. No. If it is correct, it's correct. In other words, if it's true, it's true, regardless, independent of the subject. Okay. So this is the response from the objectivists. If you ask them, are there any standards that are true and applies everywhere, true independent of the subject, and applies everywhere, and is highly held in high esteem? They'll say, yes, there are. And for Kwame Jecha, I just showed you two. The second one he would point to is what? There's no society that will endorse, in other words, indiscriminate lying as a value. Take note, they will say, well, as for our society, we are aspiring at is becoming liars. We value lying. So when this is our society, we love it when you tell us to look up and you actually look down. When you say, oh, this contract, I'll give you 100 million when you are done. And then when you finish, we value it when you tell us, oh, after the work is done, we say, oh, 0. which society will endorse that? I'm talking about will make that a cherished standard that they uphold. Then how will the society run? When we started our session, I heard a trotro, someone is doing trotro there, Teshi, oh, nungwa. You go with your small coins, you're in a hurry to come to campus, to come and learn. They go, Medina, oh, they are telling you that with your 1 CD or something. You go inside to sit, hoping that they will bring you to Legon. A society that says we cherish life. As soon as the car moves, the next time she says, everybody get down, we have reached. You say, oh, but he said we are going to Legon. Oh, but have you forgotten? This is our society, we love to lie. Will we have industry? Who will give their daughter's hand in marriage to another person in such a society? Who will go to school? When you finish school and then in fact, the lecturer can give you what they like as a grade. He told you that, oh, this one is Kwame Jetty's view. Go and write Kwame Jetty's view. They say wrong. You say, why? You say, oh, but I was lying. You know that we will love to lie. What will happen in such a society? There can't be any such. So Kwame Jetty says that one is also transcultural. Okay? So the cultures may have their differences. Go back and forth. Let's go to relativism. Cultures may have their differences. But even in their differences, there are certain values, says the objectivist, the universalist, or the absolutist. Okay, I'll keep going back and forth on our slides to help you understand it. Cultures may have their differences, but, says Kwame Jetty, and universalists like him, there are quite a number of universalists. There are still certain, take note if you're writing, may write it down, are certain fundamental, they're basic, fundamental human values, which are true for all times, all places, all contexts, regardless. And his strongest case is that if there aren't such values, that society would not even continue existing or functioning. Very good. Now, you will be amazed that as brilliant as this view seems to be, which we all one way or the other seem to subscribe to, sometimes we say, this man, doesn't he have conscience at all? Look at how he's pounding that baby in the mortar to go and look for blood money. Doesn't he have conscience? The person doesn't come from your culture, doesn't do what you do, practice what you practice. He's practicing what he thinks is used, but wherever you are, far away from that culture, you can still look and say, but how can they kill people? These are human beings. They are killing like that. Look at how we are pouring human beings out there. You can share in it, says these authors. So it seems like some way, somehow, absolutism shouldn't have generated any questions. But lo and behold, there are views that challenge that on your screen now. Okay. So my sister, read the challenges to what? Absolutism. Remember, absolutism has other names. Objectivism, universalism. Go ahead.
Challenging absolutism. Challenge against absolutism. If there truly exist moral standards, they are universal and objective. What are these standards? Emotivist response, subjectivist response, relativist response. Note: the three views, emotivism, subjectivism, and ethical or moral relativism, deny the existence of universal and objective or absolute moral standards.
Very good. So these three views that the lady read, our dear sister read for us, disagree. I think it's Cecilia. Cecilia, you'll be amazed that this you read nicely. It's not something that the emotivist agrees to. The emotivist say, who told you that there are such moral, standards and principles that are true for all places, all times, and objectively true for that matter? Look at their response. Moral claims like it is wrong to steal. It is good to, what's the thing, help the poor. These things are your feelings. Whoever is speaking's feelings, not even point of view. They are not the same. See, their feelings, like ouch, like AJ. Wow. You know when you say these things, it's just expression of your feelings. It is not even stating any fact. It's not a statement. Really? Are these people okay? Yes, they are emotivists. Their view is emotivism from the word emotion. They are logical positivists. Don't worry about knowing all the details. When you do moral philosophy, I'm sure they'll touch on it, but I'm giving you the introduction. The logical positivists are saying that if a statement doesn't have a truth value, an expression, I should say, doesn't have a truth value, there's not a statement. Truth value means when you say it, we should be able to objectively ascertain truth or falsity. That is, if I look or hear or touch or taste or smell, sensory knowledge, you see, I should be able to agree with you whether it is true or false by observation. The statement should be capable of being either true or false when we observe through our five senses. Or when we cannot observe, the meanings should help us. So if I said, for example, a bachelor is an unmarried adult male, or a bachelor has beaten his wife, they'll say, oh, but bachelors cannot beat their wives. By the language, look at the logic of it, because bachelors cannot have wives. So they'll say this statement, a bachelor has beaten his wife. Yes, it's a statement. We are able to tell whether it is true or false. Now, the other side is where you are not using the meanings to ascertain. You can still use observation to tell. So if I said, Cecilia and Nancy are pounding fufu. Now, that is something you can observe to establish whether it is true or false. If you go and what they are pounding is not fufu, but they are pounding palm fruit, abe, rather, then what the person said is not true. You see that? So we can use observation to ascertain the truth or falsity of this statement. It is a statement because it's making a factual claim that we are able to objectively establish. So if you said, and the example I used in class, I think will be helpful. T.A. Derrick and our class rep Freeman at City Campus are killing a cat outside. If I made that expression, it is a statement. So emotivists can accept that as a statement. Why? It can be true or false. T.A. Derrick and our brother, class rep Freeman, are killing a cat outside. When you go and it is a dog, you can tell. It is something that can be subjected to what? Verification. But what about if I said it is wrong of T.A. Derrick and T.A. Freeman to be killing a cat? It is wrong of them to be killing a cat. The emotivist's concern is this wrong that you have used. When I look outside, I don't see wrong by observation. I don't see right. I don't see good. I see people killing a cat. That is purely a matter of fact. When you put in wrong, good, bad, their interpretation is that is your feeling. There we go. Okay, your feeling of what you are observing. Because the thing I say, oh, it's so wrong of them. Look at how they are killing this. Is so wrong. He says another person who is looking at it and saying, hey, these people are brave. It's good, though, we won't be hungry today. So according to the emotivist, so back to our screen, moral claims, look on it, I'm going through, are not objective or universal at all. Because in fact, they are not even statements. They are not facts. They're not some factual. Those of you doing critical thinking, you should remember, and the other half would have done it already. They're not factual. They are actually emotive expressions, feelings. So they don't assert or deny anything. If I say ouch, can you say true or false to that? No, says the emotivist. That's how they want you to think of the claim abortion is evil. It's like saying abortion is ouch. And they say, well, that doesn't say anything. That's our friends' feelings towards abortion. So check their response. They are disagreeing with the absolutists, but how they disagree is not the same as how the subjectivist. The objections I've given you for all the views are for you to study and know. They are there. Read it and know how you are objecting. You are raising critique against them. Imagine someone rapes someone. They say, oh, you shouldn't, what you did is wrong. He says, oh, what you said, you have just said about my attitude is just your feelings. You've taken somebody's daughter and raped her. Then when we make a statement, but that is wrong. You say, you, the emotivists, are telling us that we should take that to mean. The person just say, what he has done is ouch. What kind of society would that be? How would we have any society? People will do what they like because it's just feelings. There is no evaluation of claims on the basis of what? Ethics. That's what emotivists have done to us. They will throw it out. They did that to metaphysics also, but that's for another day. When you go to either moral philosophy or modern analytics, or later on in our studies, level 200, we may engage such things again. Okay, so there's a critique you can read. See, it's there. I want you to do your part of the work. Okay, so I'll put the objection there for you myself. Learn it and think through it and generate more. If you can, the problem we can have if we were all to go emotivists and say, oh, that's the doctrine that we should subscribe to. People should express their feelings about anything. So I hit your bottom when you are passing. Ha! And they say, oh, but that is wrong. Don't do that. You say, oh, that is wrong in our canon. It's just like saying, ouch. Because they want claims that are what? Objectively verifiable. Now, I said the emotivist response against the absolutists is they are disagreeing with them, yes, but the way they disagree with the absolutists is not the same as what you have on the screen now, how the subjectivist responds to the absolutists, also disagreeing with them, but for different reasons. So we will read that quickly. My sister, read subjectivism, quick.
Subjectivism.
Thank you.
It is the view that moral standards are true, but the truth of moral claims are a matter of personal opinion.
Very good. Hold on. Some of them, excuse me, please. Sorry. Some didn't come. I have special students, so I want them to benefit. I'll read it. It is the view that moral standards assert truth. It says something that can be either true or false. But the truth of moral claims are a matter of personal preference or opinion. So there is the difference. Those of you, I mean, when you get the video, my Tuesday group, we discussed that in class, okay? And so I'm putting it on record for everyone to benefit. Subjectivists and emotivists are not saying the same thing, even though they both disagree with the absolutists. They both think that we do not have values that transcend cultures. But the emotivist, the one we saw earlier, thinks that the reason why we do not have objective values or transcultural values is because what? Those claims of morality or claims of ethics are themselves not statement at all. They are not statement. They are not anything that can be true or false. They don't make any claim of truth. Therefore, think of moral claims, moral statements, ethical statements as just merely what? Feelings being expressed. That's what emotivists say. Subjectivist says, no. We disagree with absolutists, but not because we think ethical claims or moral claims are just feelings, not at all. Ethical claims are statements. They are saying something that can be either true or false. They bear truth. Yes. When I say abortion is evil, this has a truth value. However, there comes their issue with the absolutists, okay? However, the subjectivist says that the truth or falsity is not an objective one. They have universal or whatever. There are such values. The values, let me correct myself so that you don't get confused. The subjectivist agrees that these are statements. Subjectivist agrees that what they are statements. However, the statements do not have what? Objective truth. They have what? Subjective truth. So it depends on the subject speaking to ascertain the actual truth or falsity of it. So if I say abortion is evil, yes, he says this can be either true or false. It has truth value. Emotivists say, oh, no, it doesn't have any truth value. It's just your feelings. Oh, subjectivists say, no, it has truth value. However, the truth value depends on the subject. Who is speaking? So that here it will be fit to put Protagoras' claim. Write it down in your note. You see Protagoras, so write it down. I'll ask you. Protagoras' claim that what? A man is the measure of all things. Unquote. A man is the measure of all things. So I told your friends jokingly, Kofi and Kojo are playing. Fine brothers, university, level 200, PHCL 102. Level 100, PHCL 102 brothers. Then Kofi slaps Kojo. Pa! Like, you know you are. You think you are strong. Come, pa! The way Kofi is so angry at the slap. You, pa, why did you hit me like that? Aren't we playing? Why? He's angry. The same slap in the afternoon. Adjoa Slekwen, who is Kofi's friend, lady friend, gives the same Kofi a slap. Pa. Kofi says, oh, Aja, slap me again. Aja, boom, back, slap again. But I thought when Kofi slapped you, you were angry. The point is, Protagoras will say, a man is the measure of all things, meaning that it is the person who determines. Of course, he didn't use it in the frame of ethics, but it is the person who decides how to interpret right or wrong, good or bad. You see that? So that is what the subjectivists seem to be saying, that we do not have moral claims, ethical claims that are true for all people. Universalism, that are true independent of the person. Objectivism, that are held in high, no, not necessarily. They make claims that the ethical claims are saying something that can be true or false, but it is always dependent on who. That's why you could give someone cold water. You think that I want water that is cold. She brings it, you start with, I said I want cold water. She said, oh, but this is cold. I said, oh no, me, this is not cold. A man is a measure of all things. You want to go and buy a sofa at the showroom, the attendant takes you and says, I want something that is really smooth. She says, that's it. That's a smooth one. You tell you, say, no, this is not smooth. It's smooth enough. Say, oh, but this is smooth. But I say it's not smooth. Because when I am touching it, I don't feel smoothness. A man is the measure of all things. Now bring that into ethics. Question of right and wrong, good and bad. The subjectivist says there isn't an objective, universal, transcultural value, principle, standard. All standards are measured by the person in question. See the objection against them, your task. These slides are already with you. So do your bit of the work. So that one too is an objection raised against what the absolutists. Then comes the very controversial one, which is oftentimes the one that really seems to be compelling an argument. Yet we'll see how we can flow it. So there is the third view, which is the relativist view. Let me take that myself. The relativist view, which says what? You say that every person belongs to a certain culture. Cultures are different. See, I'm saying it in very simple language. People live differently. How we greet in Ghana, even within Ghana, there are different ways of greeting. Some lie prostrate up and up there to greet. They lie down flat, hold the eldest leg or something to greet. That's their sign of respect. Others would greet by bowing. Some would greet with a handshake. You know, the language. Others too, look at how we dress, the food. There are differences. I use so many examples in class. Some eat bat meat, some eat insects. Our Asian friends eat frogs, cockroaches. It's so okay for them. So when you go and they put their food on the table and they're eating, don't sit down there, what's this? Because you too, that thing you call akrantie, rat, which you are enjoying, or maybe goat or pork shoe, the pork is sitting on the thing going round like that. It's abominable. It's haram for someone who believes in another religion, who lives in a certain crocodile meat, snake, dog. Dog is a delicacy for certain people. We can go on and on and on. So people are different. Look at how people dress up. Now, the point is, so the differences in culture on your screen now, the relativism of culture cannot be contested. You can't argue against that. The cultures are different. Take note. When we say cultures are relative, they are different. So you cannot go to the Otumfo of Ghana or any of our venerable chiefs here and go and be talking with your left hand loud. No, you can't enter a lecturer's office, a typically, African setting with your cap on, your earpiece in your ears, and talking. The person is trying to receive you are talking. To other, oh, Charlie, yeah, on your phone, I'm coming. I did off the lecture in office. I will come soon. Charlie, it's culturally offensive. Maybe it's okay somewhere else where we might even tell Daddy, stop talking nonsense. What you're saying is not right. And it is not offensive culturally because that is how the people live. They groom themselves to live that way. Okay. So the point I'm trying to make with all these examples is to show you that no one can ever disagree, look on your screen, with the fact that what cultures are different. That's what we mean when we say cultures are relative. Why? Because that is only a description of the empirical fact out there. That is how the world is. The climate, look at the hot sun in Ghana. You can't expect a certain kind of dressing like when you went to a place that is full of snow, heavy, well-layered snow. The dressing will be defined even by the climate. That is why people will do things differently. So we watch our telenovelas and sometimes they are dressing. Some of them looks like it's chic and classy. It works for that culture. In your culture here, you cannot wear that to the market to buy anything. You are out of place. It's like wearing, goggles, everything, and going to play tennis. We all laugh at you. It's funny. In the name of I want to be holy, it will be funny. Look at the athletics we were watching. Look at how they were dressed up. You are going to do a swimming event. Will you go because you are African and you are wearing cloth to go and do the swimming event? The culture of the event won't permit it. We all laugh. No matter how holy you are, you would have to wear those things. Pians covering some small bit of your chest and some small bit of your bottom and your front down there. Because that is the culture. We all, everybody watching, from the highest holy person to the lowest, won't count you as an infidel because you are dressed that way. The culture there, you are going to swim. Okay, so every society, every setting, every context has a culture. No problem. That is just a description. You are describing what is the case. It cannot be contested. However, when you move from the fact that cultures are different, now on your screen, watch, and say that, therefore, because every culture is different, or people practice different ways of living, therefore, what is right or wrong, good or bad, should, see my language, should be determined by that specific culture, we will have a problem with you. That will be the view of what? The ethical relativists. Ethical. The relativism here is about the ethics. When you make a case that people are different, people live differently, therefore, when it comes to what is right or wrong too, people must be allowed to determine that. Ethically, hello, we just helped ourselves remember that there are certain values that transcend cultures. And for that group to even exist at all, they must subscribe to those values. Otherwise, the society itself in question will not even continue existing, you see, or even functioning. So you cannot have a culture which says, as for us, we eat human beings. So if you come here, you are sausage, I'll cut you into pieces and put in my jollof. Then we all say, oh, but that is abominable. We say, please don't come and talk about us. Let us do what we think is right. You can also do what you think is right. Really? Now, the fact of cultural difference, you may write that down if you are making small notes. The fact that cultures are different doesn't mean that ethics is also different. The fact that cultures are different doesn't mean what is right or wrong should also be defined by the culture. Not at all. We say that when you derive, now to the screen there, look at your screen, please. When you derive an ought from an is, you commit the fallacy called the naturalistic fallacy. So let me explain that. to you. When you say, because this is how we do things here, therefore, what is right or wrong should also depend on how we do things. You are deriving an ought, how we ought to do things, from what? How we do things. You say, oh, Ghana, when you say Kameli, when you say 6 o'clock, it is actually 6:37, 8:39. I had a sahani, this is how we do it. You say, because this is how we do it, look at my language now, therefore, this is how we should do it. We have a problem with you. We are moving from what is naturally the case and prescribing what you think should be the case. Oh, as for here, women, don't give them too many positions, really. Women don't go to school. The place of the woman is the kitchen. That's how we have been doing it. So that is how it should be. Politicians make the decisions for us, really, and we just follow. Sometimes we try to resist, they don't mind as well. Here, there, that is how it is. Look at the conclusion I'm going to draw from it. Therefore, it should be so. That's problematic. Because one is an ethical claim, the other is an empirical fact. So the empirical is only describing what is. Now, if you derive an ought from an is, we will tell you are committing a naturalistic fallacy. And therefore, anyone who argues, my social and social work friends, maybe a little tip there for you. Okay, anyone who derives an ought from an is, he says, oh, this is how things are done here, therefore let them do it that way, it should be done that way. You are committing a fallacy, because people could be wrong, cultures could be wrong. Okay, the way we are doing things could be wrong if we only interrogated it internally, sometimes without even the help from any external force. The culture themselves could say, oh, in the past, we needed to sacrifice a human being so that we get harvest. The fisher folks maybe say, oh, we needed to put one human being into the sea every month, kill the person, a virgin or something, and then the gods will give us plenty harvest. Now that we know that we didn't need to do that, maybe, all we needed to do is make sure that we allow a fallow period, let the sea rest for, say, 1 month, then start fishing again. The fishes will be big, because you would have allowed them to grow. Do we still need to be thinking the way we're thinking? Whose daughter is that virgin that you want to go and sacrifice? And if someone says, but you shouldn't do that, don't say, please, please, please. Every culture is different. This is how we do things. This is not a cultural difference. It's an ethical issue. So we do not want people confusing what is the case with what should be the case. Cultural relativism can never be denied. I mean, look at how you have put rat meat, monkey's hand on your food right now that you're eating. Yes, so your phones now. If you are eating the hand of a monkey, what's yours? People eat it, it's food. Bat, flying bat, bat. It's a delicacy for some people. You can't argue against that. People dress differently. Look at Ethiopian Airlines. If you search, look at their straight kind of dress they wear. That is it. That is very, now that is their traditional way. So people eat differently, they wear different things, they practice different religions, and they subscribe to different, principles, norms, what have you. You cannot disagree with that. So different cultures, yes, but different ethics, no. So we can subject cultural issues to scrutiny. You can't say that someone went to get some fish or borrowed some money, didn't pay. The system says, so you will punish the great-granddaughter or son of that person. I think it's daughters that were used. So that a child that is born today is supposed to come and pay for a crime or something that was committed by a forebear 3 generations earlier. What is the punishment? To marry a certain custodian of a shrine of something? I mean, in the name of that is how we live. That's our culture. Yes, that's your culture. That is what is. Should it be? No. What's the argument? This is a human life. Can we interrogate it better? Is it not the sin the soul that sins that must bear his punishment? What has this little girl done? Why is it that a girl is born 3 months' time, she has a husband, and the husband is 46? By the time she turns 12 years, her husband is so and so, add the math. She doesn't choose that. Is that how to, you see? So this is a human issue. Don't say it's a human value issue. Don't say that our culture day, before the girl turns so and so, she's already given her husband. Don't come and interfere with this. This is how we do things here. No, that is not just the relativism of culture. Eat the food you want to eat is fine. Wear the clothing you want to wear, insofar as it doesn't offend the system. Why not? But when it's an ethical issue, it has implications on human life and its well-being. And I think that the point is well made. So ethical relativism may not be easily defensible. And look at the objections raised here. If I saw you and in my culture, we eat human flesh, and in yours, we don't eat human flesh, then when I see you and you're an ethical relativist, and I'm also an ethical relativist, see the confusion. You are food for me. You have to allow me to cut you into pieces. No one should hold me accountable. And you to your culture says, no, you shouldn't be allowed. And the prescription says, for ethical relativists, you are all right. How will society be? It's a serious problem. So when you make relativism of culture an ethical standard, you will have chaos. It can't be sustained. Not only is it inconsistent, it's not practically acceptable or doable. The brother tells you that in my culture, women don't talk. So we are in parliament. You are a woman parliamentarian, voted into power. Why is the woman talking? Let her sit down. When men are talking, women don't talk. You know, let the woman keep quiet and sit down. Parliament, hello, sir. So we should allow you pursue your cultural practice. What about the sisters, culture? That doesn't restrict the woman. Whose own should prevail? So when we go ethical relativism, we will have a problem. But someone can come to parliament and say, come in at your official hour. She can come in Kente and club. It's official. While someone can come in his bubu or the patakari, it's official. You can't force me to wear patakari because it's not an ethical matter. It's a cultural difference. So we respect cultural differences, but we don't mix it up with ethical matters. See how much time I spent on it? Because I've asked plenty questions in these few slides, and I know you answered them easily. If you got that, and thank you very much, Cecilia, I'll take another reader. We are going to the second half of our what? Ethics in the business. I just laid it out for you to know the standard. Now you're going to do consequences or rule. But before I move on, I see hands up. If there is any one of them that is a question, then let me give the opportunity. If it is to read, then we go on. 10 hands. So if it's a question, I'll bear with you, unmute and ask before we move on to consequences or rule. Okay, so they are all hands that want to read, I suppose. Then I take the next person. Thank you so much, Cecilia. I'll take Portia. Hey, I called Ibrahim earlier. Ibn, are you there?
Yes, Doc.
Oh, please go ahead. Okay, Emmanuel, keep your thing muted so that we don't have problems. Let's take Budasi. Go ahead, Mudasi. That pronounce your name well. I'll call you Ibn, so that I don't crucify you.
Yes, Madam Mudasi.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you very much. So go ahead, Mudasi. You. We are going to look at consequences or rule. Yes, sir.
Consequences or rule. What makes an action right or wrong? Consequence or rule. Consequentialism. The view that the rightness or wrongness of an action is determined by the consequences or effects produced by the act. Forms of consequentialism. 1. Ethical egoism. Ethical egoism is the idea that an action is right if its consequence maximizes or promotes one's own personal interest or good, and wrong if its consequence minimizes or does not promote the individual's interest. So, if speaking the truth will put me in trouble, then the right thing for me to do, according to the ethical egoist, is to tell a lie, since that would promote my own good. Forms of consequentialism continued. That's 2, altruism. Altruism is the idea that an act is right if its consequences benefit others or promote the well-being of others. Example, be involved in some charity or volunteer work. 3, utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is one main ethical theory under consequentialism. Its main proponents are Jeremy Bentham and J.S. Mill.
Very good.
Utilitarianism.
Yeah, so let me interrupt now, okay, to throw some light on it. Then we build from there. Very good. Even the word is utilitarianism, from the word utility, usefulness. So utility. So utilitarianism, okay, but you've read it very well. Now, the simple question that sets off this second half of our interrogation of the question of ethics is what? We are trying to find out. So now that we know that we have moral standards, because all the critiques we raised against the absolutism, universalism, objectivist view, that's which critiques were those emotivism, subjectivism, relativism, all of those, we see that we are able to raise objections of a kind. Even absolutism, you can critique it, except that if you're an absolutist and you say, oh, it's not every value that is absolute, but there are certain fundamental ones, then you seem to be safe. All right, so we've seen that it is possible to have some universalism or some universal moral standards. That is where we got to. Now, so if I have to make a decision, what should I look at? This is the second half of the ethical question that we are interrogating philosophically, okay? Should I look at the consequences here on the screen now of the act, what will come out, the effects, the outcomes? This is what your friend Ibn read, see? Should I look at that? Or I should look at the rule, the principle that underlies that act, the ethical principle, see, that underlies that act. Okay, now we started with the consequentialist views first, those who look at the outcome. And we say we can have 3 forms of them. Ibn read it too, so you can never forget. If you are forgetting, remember that it was Ibn who told us that there are 3 ways of thinking of what consequentialism. The first one we see on our slide is what? The one that is labeled ethical egoism. Ego, me, myself, and I. Those who do psycho, you know ego, okay? So where you look at the consequences of the act, but which consequences are you focusing on? That the one which benefits you. So I am the one doing that, and I look at what benefits me, what is in my interest as an outcome. Okay, so I'm going to make a decision. How do I measure whether this act is good or bad? The ethical egoist says, look for what is in your interest as an outcome. See, that's why it's a consequentialist theory, yes, but a theory that looks out for the interest of the person. This one is the one we call ethical egoism. We don't have to drag it too much. It's straightforward. Then the altruism, and I'm happy Ibn mentioned it very well. True to all. That's how I teach it to students. True to all except yourself. That's what the view suggests. So altruism is that consequentialist view that seeks the outcomes that benefit others, the well-being of others, not yourself. So when you give to the poor, for example, charity work, volunteering, the assumption, the presupposition, the suggestion is that what you are looking at the effects on others, not you. I tell people quickly that the critique raised sometimes against altruism is that, well, ultimately you get gratified, you feel happy, you feel content when you know that you have made the lives of others good. So people think that even altruistic acts ultimately has somewhat egoistic tone to it. But that is also another form of what? Measuring the consequences of an act to determine its rightness or wrongness. Then comes the big fish amongst them, utilitarianism. That is quite pronounced as a consequentialist theory. What does it say? It says that an action is right. Look at its proponents, the people who are labeled as utilitarians or who stand up. You do this in moral philosophy, so get it well now. Then moral philosophy to be revision for you. Then you may expand the discussions a little bit more. You see the calculus and all that, later. But I'm saying that Jeremy Bentham and J.S. Mill, J.S. Mill is John Stuart Mill, J.S. Mill, are two names that stand out. Whereas Jeremy Bentham is emphasizing the quantity of the effect. So let's look at the main theme first, and we can come to what makes Jeremy Bentham's view different, if you like, from J.S. Mill's view of utilitarianism. They are all utilitarians. So what is the view that we call utilitarian? It is that view that says it's still consequentialist. So it looks at the consequences of the act to determine whether it was good or bad, or worth doing or not worth doing. Okay, it measures the greatest good for the greatest number. The utilitarian view says that an action is right if it produces what? The greatest good. Here you see happiness. Happiness meaning pleasure. What is good? Okay, the greatest good for the greatest number of people. And it will be wrong if it produces the reverse, okay? So the least good for the least number. Therefore, if you look at what utilitarianism generally saying, then it means the usefulness of an act is what determines its rightness or wrongness. And the usefulness here is measured. Usefulness means what? Utility is measured by how many people will benefit, okay, from that good, in relation to those who will not benefit, the greatest good for the greatest number. That is the summary of utilitarianism. Okay, as an introduction, that should be fine. Now, you would see that Jeremy Bentham will be measuring the quantity of the good. Is it plenty for plenty people? J.S. Mill will be measuring what? The quality. So if it is a party, people will put plenty water in the sobolo, that mixture. They'll add a lot of water so that a lot of people will get signed. They say, hey, party, I served, hey, they served. There was plenty drink. The drink had water. I will lagat. I'm not a girl, don't worry, but I've lived it because I like it. Okay, they put in plenty water, so quantity. They were serving. The people when they serve some soups at the chop bar. When they serve and they see that plenty people are in the queue and it's getting late, they put water and add Maggi. Zo, makes it on top, and shake it. Add, then the soup is ready. Brothers don't chop up. Quantity. It served plenty. It served plenty people. Okay. And so for Jeremy Bentham, that's okay. I mean, bluntly speaking, if I spoke that way, it's blunt. When you do moral philosophy, you can engage it a bit more closely. J.S. Mill says it's not the quantity per se. So give the greatest good for the greatest number, yes. But what he means by greatest is what? The one that has the highest quality for the greatest number. So he measures the greatness in terms of what? Quality. That's J.S. Mill. Think of a perfume. You could get a perfume, some small size perfume on the shelf there, and it's 6,000 cedis. Yes, if you converted it to $, it's 6,000 cedis. I mean, 6,000, really? Someone used to buy land at Kaswa farm. But it's a perfume. Someone says, oh, this one always money. Another person could get a perfume that is 30 Ghana. It is 3 times the size of that one. But it's 30 cedis. Yet, if you asked some people, that's 6,000 too. It could be that you use it once, a little tiny drop on your, your arms here and there behind your ears, and you are good. And the scent, I mean, it's so pleasurable. The aroma is good. So it's quality. I'm just showing you quality versus quantity. Okay. And so when I'm measuring utilitarianism, for now, have in mind that it is what? The greatest good for the greatest number. So now practical examples. Now that you know quality and quantity is enough, let's go to the practical example. If we were 100 people in a boat, and because of the weight, it starts sinking. We are at sea. Okay, we can't come out. So the captain advises, we will all drown. We are all drowning. The weight is too much. If we reduce the weight by even 2 of us, then we can scale ourselves all the way back to the shore. By the utilitarian principle, it might look like it's okay then for 2 of us to be sacrificed for the other 98. Because then that action will generate what? The greatest good for the greatest number, will save human lives, 98. So it's okay, perhaps. See, I'm speaking perhaps to sacrifice the 2. It's okay. So Christ was killed, 1, to save the whole world. It's utilitarian. God was being utilitarian there. Okay, now all these examples just to help you get the concept. I want you to grab it. Afterwards, you can do what you want with it. All right. So 2 ways of thinking of utilitarian or utilitarianism as a consequentialist view. There is the act utilitarian view. In other words, the focus is on the action, that specific single act. What specific action can I take? So say, read it, maybe to help someone. Then we move on to the next one. Thank you. Eben, go ahead. If Eben there,
from
yes,
1,
go ahead.
act
Eben, go ahead.
1. Act utilitarianism is the view that the rightness or wrongness of an act is determined by the act itself. If the act produces at least a great balance of happiness over unhappiness in its consequences for all people than any other available act, then it is right. Act utilitarianism considers only the results of single acts.
The single act, that particular act. Okay, so I look at what I'm going to do. Will it produce the greatest good for the greatest number? This act versus all the other actions I could have taken about this situation, would it produce the greatest good for the greatest number? If it would, then I'll do it. So the focus is on the action. It is not prescribing the same for all times and all places. So look at the second type of utilitarianism. Sorry, rule utilitarianism.
2. Rule utilitarianism is the view that an action is right if it is in conformity to a rule which maximizes the greatest happiness for the greatest number.
Very good. So
Rule
here you
utilitarianism.
Sorry, go on. Finish it.
Rule utilitarianism considers the consequence that results from following a rule of conduct.
Very good. So they are both utilitarian, but you see that the rule utilitarian's focus is whether this act I'm going to perform conforms, okay, associates itself with a certain rule. So am I telling a lie to save a life? Am I doing the right thing by the rule in the bid to achieve what the consequences? Okay, that's why people have criticized the rule utilitarian as being deontologist. Ultimately, it can reduce to Kant's rule as the focus. We'll get there in a minute. You see that so far all we have been doing is looking at the consequences of the act. What you are doing may not be the issue. You have to focus on the consequences to judge whether the action is right or wrong. But the rule utilitarian is trying to bring in a part of itself that is focusing not only on the consequences, but it's also concerned about what the rule you are obeying to take you to that consequence. See, if you stole like Robin Hood did, stealing from the rich, corrupt folks to feed the poor, a typically consequentialist view will say that then feeding the poor is a good thing. So how the means doesn't matter. You see, it is justified by the end that was produced, the outcome. That's why some people say the end justifies the means. So some people maybe a parliamentarian, we have that scenario, so I can use that, would deal in drugs, for example. They say, these are all sometimes perceptions, but at least there was one that was arrested. We don't know. So far as he's arrested, we're able to reference that. But you do cocaine or something, drugs, weed, you sell that, and take care of the community. So would that be okay if you were interpreting the act utilitarian literally? Then it will look like, well, that is not good because I'm focusing on that single act. Okay, that will produce, is this act going to lead me to the outcome I'm looking for? Rather than that will be good. For the rule utilitarian, we'll have an issue. The rule utilitarian will say, well, yes, the act is producing a good outcome, but is that act itself conforming to a rule that is ethically acceptable? Like telling a lie. Yes, when I told a lie, it made them bring us plenty goods. We said we are all sick. We are hungry at this foster home. We don't have any food. No, it's not true. We just want more so that we'll stop. So when we did it, they brought plenty to the children's home there. Now we have enough. What will you use it for? To take care of the children. So you've done what? But you lied. The rule utilitarian will say that lying, would you want it? Does this lying conform to the ethical principle? Would you like to be lied to? Remember what we said earlier. A society that endorses indiscriminate lying. Will that society stand? No. So the rule utilitarian is not only now, look at it, it seems to be playing, you eat your cake and you want to have it. It is asking that, yes, focus on the consequences, but make sure that that action, which is giving you the consequences you look for, that action should conform to a certain rule. Again, then we now want to ask the rule utilitarian. So you yourself, are you consequentialist or deontologist? Okay, very good. That's the problem with the rule utilitarian. It is because of the questions and the critiques raised against the act utilitarian, which is typically the utilitarian view. Act in any way that yields what? The greatest good or the greatest number. If you said that, then however I acted will not seem to matter. You see, the focus will only be the effect. So if I cheated my friend Eben in the exam, but because I cheated, he got an F in the course, which prevented him from being made a king in his hometown because he wants to get. I mean, I want to create a very funny example. He doesn't want to do well because if he does well, then perhaps he will not be crowned chief. Let's look for something else. So he tells you, Doc, please fail me, or you fail him. What you are doing is wrong because he passed. But it perhaps yields greatest good for the greatest number. If it's utilitarian, it's not just my friend. So I think it doesn't help us more. If it's ethical egoism, then that might help. But I'm talking about where that specific act is not pleasant. It doesn't obey any principle of ethics, the rules that ground ethics. It doesn't obey it, yet it generates the greatest good for the greatest number. So maybe the Robin Hood example will be better for you. I really want you to understand without too much extra thinking beyond your level as level 100s, okay? So think of it that way. You tell a lie to save the whole community. They came and asked, where are the two men that came up there? They have in the Bible. He says, nobody came here. Yeah, nobody has even come here. Hey, you know me, I'm doing business here. They came, I would have told you. But she was lying. To save the whole Israelite community, because these two folks are going to tell them what they've come to see, to save Israel and make them get their land. That is a lie. But it saved the whole community. Act utilitarian will say the action was good because it generated the greatest good for the greatest number. Whatever the greatest number is in contention. But some may think that it's only Israel versus the whole world. The number may not be good. Now, the other half, which I want you to see, and I belabored that point because I want you to see how rule utilitarianism may differ from act utilitarianism. And if it did at all, the problem then that we'll have with rule utilitarianism, if you are that concerned about the rule underlying the action, why do you still want to focus on consequences? So are you a consequentialist or you are a deontologist? This is what we want to ask the rule utilitarian. There's a tension there because now he's not focusing only on the results, the outcomes. He's still also asking, but did you use the right means to get the money? Masa, you are sick, mommy. So I'll show you in a minute. You have to get well. I cannot watch you get sick. You take care of all these number of children here in the foster home so that it becomes what? The greatest good for the greatest number. Now, I want you to be well. I don't have the money now. The people won't give me on credit. And you don't have all the time. You have to take the inhaler now. So I stole it. That is there say, oh, we have done well. Don't worry. When mommy gets will work hard, we'll go and pay back. Tell them I came to steal your thing. You have maybe done your bit, but the act will not be right in the raw sense of it. You see what I've said? However, the rule utilitarian will say, well, yes, the outcome of saving mommy is good, but the stealing is not right. So they want you to make sure that the action conforms to a rule, which if you perform that action by that rule, will yield what? The greatest good for the greatest number. That makes a bigger demand on you as a consequentialist than the act utilitarian would. Now we can read problems with consequentialist theory. I'll just let your friend read through it. Even read the last, I think you have a very good background like the earlier reader. After you take the next person. Please go ahead.
Problems with consequentialist ethics. Can we always measure the full consequences of an action? What of the rights of the minority? The minority may be harmed or ignored at the expense of the majority. Will that be just after all?
Very good.
Would we not undermine human dignity by using others as a means to an end, sacrificing the benefit of others to please the majority, killing one to save 99, for example?
When a boat is sinking because of weight.
Because of weight.
Thank you so much. I think that these are explicit. These are questions that I am asking you to help you think and raise possible questions with a consequentialist theory. Think of it very well. How do you measure the full consequences? You thought you killed only 2 people. I say killed because I've given you a scenario. See, you put out 2 people from the boat so that the 98 will survive. We'll go and tell the story. When we can, we'll build a monument and name those 2 people and after it. You see, oh, if it wasn't for attack and yeah, we wouldn't have reached this far. What if those 2 people are the ones that would have found the vaccine for monkeypox? Look at monkeypox doesn't help you. Let's use COVID. Which one has killed COVID? You thought you killed 2 people to save 98. Now that the 2 people died, they had the cure, or they were going to produce the cure to save the thousands and millions of people that died out of COVID. So how do you measure that? You're not able to measure the full consequences, especially in the long term of an action. You thought you just stopped the woman from going to school at home and made the brothers go to school. After all, there were 3 gentlemen and a sister, so the sister should sell or something to take care of her brothers. So 1 was sacrificed for the benefit of 3. Until all the 3 became useless. And the sister, oh dear, what if the sister would have become the first lady, the first whatever, the wife of United Nations Secretary General? I like the world, not this local champions. See? And then through that, the whole family would have migrated, had a very good life untainted. If you gave her a little schooling, can you measure that? You are thinking of 1 versus 3. This sister would have saved the whole family if she had a good husband. And all because maybe she went to school a little and can be placed there. So it is difficult to measure. If you are consequentialist, the critique you are raising is, it's not always straightforward to know the full consequences of that small decision you are making. That is the point I'm making, okay? Then the others are self-explanatory. You can discuss a tutorial, discuss amongst yourselves. When we meet in class again for the next session, you can bring all questions that you have on it. We'll deal with it together. However you go around it, you have to think. I want you to think. It's philosophy. Otherwise, I'll just tell you everything like I'm doing, then we go. But the questions I'll ask you will not just be looking for how you can recall the 2 types of relativism or the 3 types of consequentialist theories you have studied. No, 1 or 2 recalls for your midterm, yes. But the final exam, you write essays, which is fine. You can do it. It's not difficult. I just want to orient you well so that you don't think about just chew, pour, pass, and forget. We want people that can engage problems of society when they go out of the university. And you are very good candidates for that. We want to help you see yourself that way. Let's take Abigail Ade. Thank you so much, Eben. Abigail Ade, read the problem, the reflection question, and let's use that to see if we have gathered something. You're muted, please. Abigail Ade. Better. Okay, it's fine. Go ahead, Abigail. Is that Abigail reading?
Yes, please.
Go ahead, Abigail.
Can measure the full consequence of an.
Oh, I've finished though. We are now on pause and reflect. Please, who can see pause and reflect?
It's
Anyone
pause
can see
and
pause? Okay. A lady who said pause and read for me. Thank you.
Is physical dilemma of telling the general public the truth about a mishap in the company's drug labeling, which has resulted in the death of 4 unborn children at risk are not retrieved from the market immediately. But the challenge.
Oh, my special student won't hear some of the portions. Could you kindly start, please, and be stable so that it doesn't move around? I want them to hear. It will help them also, okay? Please start again.
Yes. Please. Pause and reflect. A multinational pharmaceutical company is a dilemma, telling the general public about a myth the company's drug, which has resulted in the death of 4 unborn children and leaves many more at risk if the drugs are not retrieved from the market immediately. But the challenge the company faces is that admitting this truth could attract crippling legal charges, drastic reduction in patronage, and reputation. As a consultant, ethical advice to the company, showing clearly the ethical basis of your advice. You envisage deal with the identified challenges.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we missed portions of it. So my dear student, I'll try and be touching on it a bit so you see. This is a past question. I think it's 2020 or 2021. I don't think it's last year. This should be 2020, I think. It's a past question. It was one of the compulsory questions. And it's not difficult. And it doesn't have a yes or no answer. If you took all the textbooks to the exam hall, I mean, I won't mind. It's the chief examiner, the chief invigilator that may have issues with you. I say that because it's not asking you for something that is written anywhere. It's asking your thinking based on the theories we've discussed. So you see, I'm asking you to give a reasoned ethical advice to the company to show them how they should handle this and show your ethical basis. You're not doing legal basis per se. You're not doing political basis. You're not doing religious. We are saying what is the ethical grounds. Remember, we studied and we said ethics may not necessarily be legal. And the legal may not necessarily be ethical. The religious may not necessarily be ethical. So sometimes something may be acceptable legally, but it's ethically wrong. We are doing ethics so far. Okay, so give us the ethical grounds, the basis of your advice that you will give as a consultant who is well paid, multinational company for that matter. Okay, then you should tell them the challenges you envisage, the challenges you are anticipating they will face if they took your advice, and how you propose that they deal with those challenges. What has happened? The company has mislabeled their drugs, and we're going to put 500 milligrams drug into a 125 milligram container. And the overdose that arises from that has killed 4 children because the mother went to buy 125 milligrams as prescribed by the doctor. Doctor didn't do anything wrong. He gave 125. The pharmacist person sitting there dispensing the drug also picked the box. It was 125 milligram written on it and gave to the patient 4 different places in the country. They want to give to a baby. They know they are giving 125. Apparently, they are giving 500 because the company that distributed it, manufactured it, so to speak, mislabeled the content. They have killed 4 children and the drugs are out there. What should the company do? This philosophy, that's what philosophy is. You think it's a joke. Philosophy is practical. So if someone tells you that the philosophy is dealing with questions that are, when you hear the question of right, wrong, good, freedom, human nature, how society should be organized, determinism of those questions, deduction, induction, they are so relevant to everyday life, every day. This is it. You have to make a decision. What would you do if you go and make an announcement? We are sorry, we think we wrongly mislabeled them. You have reputation crisis. People may die. They won't even buy your drugs again. And that can cause more deaths. The company is crippling. The confidence people have in your drugs are going down. But it's not all your drugs that have that issue. Look at the people who stop buying your nifedipine, codipine, and paracetamol syrup, gripe water. The number of people that will be affected and which could cause death because they don't trust you again. So it's both ways. What do you do? Think about it and take it to tutorial for discussions. You can have several perspectives to this. Are you going consequentialist or deontologist? Deontologist means where you are focusing only on the rule. We'll finish that shortly so that everyone can have the benefit of the recording. Or even if it's consequentialist, what are you measuring? Is it the ethical egoist view, the owner, the CEO is your focus? Or you are more concerned about altruism, being good to people, regardless of whether you get a benefit or not? It's still consequential. Or you measure the utility, the usefulness of the decision you are making. The utility, what will be your focus, quantity or quality? See what we've done? The question is touching on all of that. And we would want to know if you know that. Well done. Thank you, my sister. Let me take, we still have some few minutes, so we'll round it off nicely. Let me take Portia Heyman to read the next slide, which no group has done so far. This will be the group that is doing it. Thankfully, it's being recorded, then we all share. Now, take your questions when I meet you in person. Go ahead, sister. Deontology, Kantianism, from the name Kant, Immanuel Kant. Rule or duty-based ethics. Go ahead, sister. Yeah, are you there, Portia? Portia, go ahead. We can't hear you. Let me take Carl Prospertete. Carl Prospertete, go ahead if you are there. I don't want us to waste too much time. Go ahead. Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Deontology, Kantianism, rule or duty-based ethics.
Great.
Deontology from the Greek word deon, meaning duty. It is the ethical theory proposed by Immanuel Kant. The theory claims that what makes an action right is what it satisfies. It's what it satisfies certain rules or duty and wrong.
Please say is that. So what makes
it satisfies. What makes an action right is that it satisfies certain rules or duty and wrong if the action is contrary to the rules or duty.
Let me just help you quickly, then you continue. Okay, so what makes an action right is that it satisfies certain rules or duty, and wrong if the action is contrary to the rules or to duty. You will do deontology proper in moral philosophy. But let me give you a good introduction that is still useful. Okay, so the principles of ethics, according to Kant, Immanuel Kant, his Immanuel is spelled with an I, not E, so IMM is a German. Okay, so Immanuel Kant, he says, oh dear, he says, what is right is that which is inspired, directed by what? Duty. You are working by the rule. The rule places a demand on you to do so. The exam starts at 7:30. If you come in 30 minutes after the start of the exam, you cannot write it. Now, if the student comes 1 minute, 30 minutes after the time, you can write. So if the student is 1 minute late, The Kantian rule may want to tell you that you cannot break the rules, regardless of the consequences. You must obey the rule to the letter because you have a duty to do so. Now, the argument he gives to ground that is more intricate than the simplified version I'm giving here to help you understand it. Okay, so here the rules are to be obeyed, not because they maximize utility, not because they increase or they give greatest good for the greatest number. That is what consequentialism. No, deontology says no. But you should obey the rules because the rules have intrinsic value or they are good in themselves. The thing is good, so do it. It is good to tell the truth always. Whether it yields an outcome or not is inconsequential, says Kant in his Deontology. That is if you want to give a very simplified version of it. When you build higher, then you open it and open it and open it and see the details and where he talks about the golden rule and the various versions of the universalizability principle and all that. Those are more intricate, but simplified version for you is this: obey the rules just because the rules are good in themselves. But finished. The theory holds that actions are determined by their intrinsic value. Is it good to tell the lie? Everybody says, oh, no, it's not good, but don't put but. It's not good. Finished. Don't lie. Is it good to kill? You say, oh, what's for killing there? You know that even if it's in self-defense, killing is not good. Period. Don't add anything. You say, but you see the way that guy was, all the consequences don't matter. You have to do the bidding of the rule of ethics, the principles of ethics, the moral standards of ethics. Do them because they have intrinsic value. Okay, the theory holds that hence consequences do not matter. What matters here is one's intentions or reasons for performing the action. So if it is good in itself, and that is what is grounding it, you see that he will make a case from reason and the fact that you should apply the principle of whether it is universalizable. Don't want to put all there. He says, if you ask yourself, should we make it a general rule? I think that won't hurt much. Let me add that. Should we make it a general rule to lie? Can we make lying a universal principle? See something close to what we have done with Kwame Gyekye earlier, okay? This man might also be a good example of a universalist. Okay? Can we make lying a universal principle? You say, oh no, but they say don't say but. If lying cannot be a universal principle, then you cannot have any reason why you should lie. If you lie and you say, oh, I had to lie because you see, if I don't tell lie, they will kill the boys. You say consequences don't matter. So if it's wrong, it's wrong. So you should do what is right based on rules or duty, regardless of the outcome. He's not a consequentialist. He's a deontologist, and some want to call him even what a Kantian. What's the problem with that? If we went this way, I have not gone through any of the objections with you, but this one is a straightforward one. Look at it. We'll be too strict too sometimes. It has a very good part to it. You don't use the human being as a means to an end. You don't sacrifice two people or the viewpoint of the minority, whether in parliament or in your home or at the department or among your teaching, you are doing your group work. Two people say, oh, I think we should just read over. They say, no, the majority says we shouldn't read over. We are done, we are going. Oh, but the minority could be wrong, could be correct. Can we just give them hearing? You say, no, the greatest good for the greatest number. 8 out of 10, 8 people say, but 8 people said we should vote for a certain party. 4 years later, the 8 people's decision was wrong. The 2 people's decision was rather correct. Should we just dismiss views because we are looking at the utility, or I am looking at how I will benefit, ethical egoism, and so on and so forth? We may be too liberal when we go extremely ethical egoism, okay, or utilitarian. But if we also go strictly, fully deontological, we may be too strict. The students say, when I give exam and we start, nobody should talk. Nobody keep quiet. You are giving the work. Then as you are passing, one of them points, hello, sir, please, shut up. I said, everybody should keep quiet. And she keeps quiet. When you are going, oh, sir, please, but I said, keep quiet. We are keeping to the rules strictly. The person is only telling you that your zip, madam lecturer, your zip has opened. And all the hidden, encomiums behind you are showing. You're a lady, you're a woman. The rules are there, but there's a human face to someone is prompted. Perhaps if you listen to him even 2 seconds, you are told, I just wanted to tell you, your zip is showing. So we are doing the exam, but we can see video. When you turn it out, I can see everything, the color of the pants and everything. So the person knows the rules, but is trying to prompt. If you go strictly deontology, rules, it's not right to talk. When the exam starts, I'm just using that to help you understand. You'll be too strict that the rule will be empty. There's always a reason why rules are given, ethical rules for that matter. And so I may drift a bit into religion here. Unnecessary religiosity will miss the heart of the laws that God gave us. If you are overly, strictly religious about it, and Jesus showed the way, if you are a Christian person with a Christian, I can't reference the other religions, I'm sorry, but I can use this and you can read to see. You ask the one who hasn't sinned, throw the first stone. It's not saying people should go and sin. He doesn't want you to interpret the law literally. Otherwise, you will miss the spirit, the heart of the law. There was a reason why the laws are given, whether ceremonial or foundational. The aim is there. So you cannot go so strictly to the point that someone has fallen into a hole on the Sabbath. You say that you cannot work on the day. You say, hey, but the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Don't misinterpret, otherwise you'll be extremely legalistic, Uncle Peter, that when they say rise, kill and eat, you'll be saying that these are all unclean. Then God will tell you, who are you to call unclean that which I have made clean? Peter wasn't wrong, okay? All these things I'm saying, you can just Google and see if you find it there. Peter wasn't wrong because the law had told him that these are all unclean animals, don't touch them. So he's just referencing what the law from Leviticus had said. But the same law is now, quote and unquote, being interpreted, this time with the heart, the spirit of the law. The reason why the law is given. It's not just rule. The reason why Daddy will say, Kofi, when you go out, don't come home after 6. Come home before 6 o'clock. It's because you are still young. You are now 6 years. You go and play football. A boss is a brevier. If you come home 6-1, he'll kill you. But now that you are in the university, will Daddy tell you after 6? In fact, when you are coming home, Mommy will say, oh, you don't go anywhere. How will you make friends? How will you get a wife and give birth? Because the law was only to guide. So when we are extremely legalistic, rule-bound, now bring it to the frame of ethics, we may be too strict to make even the thing empty. Then sometimes we have what conflict. We have to tell the truth, but we also have to save a life. They are all ethically required. Which one will we do? You don't help us. If you are overly legal, you say, obey the rule. Which rule now should I obey? Tell the lie, tell the truth, or save a life. They are both ethical principles, ethical standards, ethical rules that must be obeyed. I don't know which one to obey. Okay. Then this is the one that the gentleman's mom has been sick and he needs help. I think someone should read it. That's the last slide. Then we can go. So let me have someone who has a very good back. Joseph, you raised your hand earlier, but you didn't read. Are you able to read now, Joseph Perry? If not, I take Sasu. Joseph, can you read?
Yes, madam.
Okay, excellent. Please go ahead.
An employee has been accused of theft and brought before the disciplinary committee of the outfit for hearing. The employee pleads not guilty because he needed the money only to pay for prescribed drug to save his sick, dying mother before it was too late. A. Is his act deontological or consequentialist? Explain your answer. B. If his act were consequentialist, did he act altruistically, egoistically, or by utility? briefly explain your answer.
Well done. And that is the end of our lecture 5. You see that I've not said anything, but from our discussions so far, see, altruism, egoism, that's ethical egoism, utilitarianism, are all consequentialist theories. If you think his act was consequential, he looked at the outcome to determine what was right or wrong for him to do at that time. Tell us which versions of consequentialism was at play. But you may think otherwise. We want to always give you the opportunity and the room to think for yourself. We don't impose solutions. I think I get that once in a while from students. Doc, so all these theories, which one should we? I say, hey, that one cannot be my answer. It's philosophy. So you just need to know the options on the buffet table. Then you go. Tell if you don't cross you, you'll run this evening. But it tastes really good. If you take the crab meat, maybe you can have some few rashes here and there. But I tell you, you can't beat the taste. The calcium is rich. If you eat the vegetables, my, oh my, you will have a lot of vitamins, but you won't be full like the banku and opus you would do. See, so we give you all those options. The pepper soup is really good with the fresh fish and fufu. But I tell you, the pepper is hot in your mouth. But it tastes good. So if you are going to bear it and drink water alongside, then you can go for that. So we give you the options. So now the person who is an individual with a mind that can reflect is able to look at the pros and the cons and then make a defensible argument for whichever view they take. Very cognizant of the possible counter response that will come from the opposing view. That is the skill. That's the philosophical posturing. Okay, so that's what we give you. And so here, if you think it's deontological, well, we respect that, but show why. Because if you are not able to defend it too well, like happens in court, we'll show you why we think perhaps it is not this, that is that, and not that. In all cases, it is an argued position that is graded. Argued. So when you're arguing, like I said earlier, you make your case, you have to raise possible counter argument that will be raised against what you said. And then you respond to that counter argument to show us that this is why you would still think your view is more defensible. I didn't say my view is true than the other. You can say that's why this will be a better view. Better means it's relational. You compare it to the other one. But that's why my view is the best. Then it means we have ended philosophy. We don't end. We keep thinking and reflecting on those principles. Now we are so done. Thank you very much. Let's take questions, 1 or 2. The time is up. I have to enter another lecture, but I can take 1 or 2 questions. Take your discussions to tutorial. The tutorial links and times have been shared by your TAs. If you are not sure of it, send them a message so you know, because it's a big class. So they are split into different groups so that you can have a contact time. You could do that through your teaching, your class reps, the recognized class reps for the course. I have a platform for them. Then we will share the links there. I'll ask the team if they are online sessions. We'll share the links there. If it is in person, you would have to find that because space is an issue now. We all know that. So maybe this week they got a very big venue. They can accommodate 50 students for that specific tutorial time. Maybe the next week that venue is taken, they will have just a seminar room somewhere that can take 22 or something. So that is why their contacts are there for the whole week. Check with your class reps or call your TAs directly or send an email, let me know, then we will work it out. Okay, but tutorial is important. Go and do your discussions there and enrich yourself. Okay, very good. So I'll take questions. Let me end the video, I think, so that people can ask their questions. If you have a question, a really pressing question, you are allowed to ask it now, please.